What's up, everyone? Mark Lobliner, TigerFitness.com. Special day, man. We're not going over news. We're not going over topics. But this is a very, very, very readily asked question, and that is, well, drug questions. We all want to know about them. A lot of people, even if you don't do them, you want to know what they do. You see people talking about them. We actually have someone here who came out with a new book, a comprehensive guide on TRT, on steroid use. We're going to discuss things like Anavar. We're going to discuss things that people want to know. So why don't you introduce yourself, my man?
Yeah, what's up? Thanks for having me, Mark. My name is Leo Mayrhofer. I'm an IFBB pro in the classic physique division. I started coaching people 10 years ago, started training people 11 years ago. First started competing naturally I trained naturally for 7 years, did a few competitions naturally, maybe like 5, 6, 7, around that. So then I went on, pursued a pro card in bodybuilding. I did my first win in my 10th or 11th show, and I won my pro card in my 20th show. I'm saying this because bodybuilding is a lot about patience and failing. And if you don't immediately win or are successful, you start trying to figure things out more as you go along. And I think it's kind of a blessing that I wasn't already successful, but I always have the the patience and yeah the will to keep going. So it made me learn and make me study and make me figure things out, so I can help others also way better than if I'm like Paul Dillette, who just picks up some weights and grows by himself. So
Oh,
it's a
man.
blessing and a curse both.
Yeah.
But it's yeah, that's and I wrote this book because first off, great for my resume. So nowadays everyone's a guru and everyone knows everything, and now I have like proof of what I know, proof of work. And but mainly it's because I see so much misinformation and so many kids, like 18-year-olds, hopping on trend and doing all kinds of stupid things. I the Yeah, since we've been talking more about the subject overall in the industry, it came to a point where it gotten worse actually, and people just see it as like mandatory or tic tacs or just yeah, it- like they don't see like the risks involved, and you can mitigate them, you can manage everything right, you can do it in a very clever way, even if you want to compete, or just do TRT, but also do that right. And there's so many mistakes and so many misinformation and bad advice out there that I
Yep.
felt like let's just write a book where everything's in there. And if you read that, if you study that, you can actually you can do way better, way faster, and way less side effects, if any. That depends on how, if you're going for open pro card, obviously I'm not like a hypocrite. I'm not saying you can be just as healthy as a guy on TRT,
No,
like
no.
let's be real. But I go into blood work, I go into how, why, what, when, what makes sense, what is justifiable, what is total nonsense. And yeah, so I'm gonna save lives.
Man, I think there's a lot of I don't like term misinformation has been co-opted to mean basically what the left doesn't want you to hear. So I don't want to use that because I know a lot of people
Yeah,
on
yeah, yeah,
Twitter follow me for my political takes. But
yeah.
there's a lot of misinformation about steroid use and the risks. Like you see all these young guys, the Trend twins. I was told to look into some dude named Toji. He supposedly lost his
Oh
mind too,
Lord.
where they're promoting this excessive usage lifestyle. And the problem is they're really good at it. Like these guys are making all kinds of money, they're getting all kinds of fame. So everybody thinks that's cool to do and it's going to enhance their life and make them better. And I think what they fail to talk about are the risks that come with this lifestyle, especially when start at a younger age. And these guys are in their early 20s, sometimes teens, sometimes, and they don't understand the long-term issues they might have from their abuse of these drugs.
Yeah, I mean, you can go into organ health and heart enlargement and cardiac issues. So you also always want to check yourself, but there's a lot of things you can take to mitigate side effects. Even if you take a little more, I just found an insane supplement that is almost everything in there, and it has also the very bioavailable forms of all these supplements. Because oftentimes on Amazon you get like XYZ extract, and you're like, whoa, there's way more in there, but well, the actual bioavailability is very poor. So there's like, for example, if you get an ashwagandha, you look at the withanolides in there, and the higher the percentage, the better. And then there you get ashwagandha extract, and it tells you 5 grams. You're like, 5 grams of ashwagandha, that's super cheap for 5 grams. But well, you can just also just flush down the toilet. So
You're just getting basically
there's
plant material
yeah,
sometimes. Yeah, it's like
yeah. So
greens. A lot of time
you have to
greens
know what you get.
are
Yeah,
just like they're grass clippings. Like you need to have the actual extracts. And that's what we do
yeah,
with ambrosia nectar. It's 13 ingredients of what people want, what people need for liver health, all that good stuff. That's why we came out with it. Because people are
yeah,
drinking greens and they're like, oh, I think it's doing this. Well, what in there is doing that? Your broccoli extract? What is the broccoli extract? What's it extracted for? So, I mean, there's a lot of things
yeah,
where people just kind of have hope and dreams. But I do agree that there are ancillaries now that we have as far as blood pressure medication. But I would argue that modulating your blood pressure, even telmisartan and those olmesartan, it's not as good as just having good blood pressure when you're artificially keeping your blood pressure low. Granted, it's better than just having crazy blood pressure of 200 over
yeah,
120. But I mean, like Mike Israetel, he's like, my blood pressure's normal. I'm like, you're on drugs for blood pressure to counter the drugs you're taking for size. I don't know
yeah.
if that's optimal. What do you think?
No, no, I don't think that's optimal. Of course not. You can keep your blood pressure healthy without drugs, obviously.
Yeah.
But to Mike Israel's defense, telmisartan seems to be one of the drugs that really I don't see. Like, I haven't found any real downsides to taking
None.
it.
Oh,
So
I think
most of the times,
olmesartan. I think olmesartan,
yeah.
the other one, is actually even better from what I've seen.
Hmm. Well,
It's
most of the times when you take any drug to mitigate any other drug's downsides, then there might be downsides to that drugs as well. So it's kind of
mhm.
like a spiral. But there's a few drugs on this planet, fortunately, that seem to be really good. So thank to big pharma, not not everything is shit. So yeah, there's and nowadays people are like so they lost so much trust in pharmaceuticals
Yep.
that it's also to the downsides of the ones that are actually beneficial because people are like, oh, they like drug, look, drug, no. So it's like it depends, but definitely it's always better to stay healthy in a natural way without depending on anything, and you can do that by exercising right, by also managing your estrogen right, because if your estrogen is too high, not only can you get gyno, but you retain more water, and that leads to more pressure on your whole system, and that's going to increase your blood pressure. So you might like in the off season, some people only might have high blood pressure because of bad estrogen management.
Oh,
Like once they would manage your estrogen right, the blood pressure might like it will go down definitely, if it goes into the proper range. I don't know. That's individual, obviously, but it could. So you could even just manage your estrogen
so,
right,
so
or
so
or
there's a lot of
switch
effects
your
with yeah.
yeah,
So
switch your
estrogen,
drugs.
a lot of people are against aromatase inhibitors. Now there's a huge movement away from them. What is your opinion on the use of aromatase inhibitors?
It depends on your goal and what you're using. But for example, like people think they have to run testosterone very high. I think it's very individual. If you have no not much conversion into estrogen, running it high might be not a bad idea if you're a bodybuilder, right?
Okay.
But if you run into more side effects, why don't you put something like on top that's not converting and that will have less side effects? And then if you want to get to your what, let's say 1.5 grams of juice, You just stack it in a more intelligent way to have more downsides and more upsides, maybe some synergy as well. Yeah, so and you can also, some people, they have a really great effect of primobolan, um, like um, down regulate or suppressing their estrogen, keeping it low.
Yeah.
For example, Dr. Todd Lee says every uh, uh, 20 milligrams of primobolan with 10 milligrams of test, his estrogen goes down by 5, whatever, like something like that. He said,
So,
not the exact numbers,
so
but
the problem with Primo, real
yeah.
quick, is finding real Primo. Like Primo
Yeah.
is one of the most counterfeited drugs. What's your opinion?
But
Just because this will come up, what's your opinion on interchange that Masteron?
Masteron does not have the estrogen lowering effect like Primo usually.
Okay.
Masteron is something that, and that's why Todd Lee likes it. I think it's very little anabolic, so I don't like it as much for building muscle. It makes sense to lower your SHBG, free up your test, so improve your testosterone efficacy. But at the same time, I would say you don't need much to get your SHBG in range. So therefore, it would make sense to take like maybe let's say from 100 to 300 on top of your testosterone just to improve that. But as a sole anabolic, it doesn't make much sense for me, unless, I mean, if you take 2 grams of it, it will have some effect. And Todd argues for it because he can basically take as much as he wants and has no superficial side effects.
Is this Masteron you're talking about still, or Primo?
Yeah, and
Masteron.
also not a real effect on his hairline. So that's his point of view. My point of view is, yes, you can do that, but also I'm like, there's way better things to take if you're a bodybuilder to get size and real benefits out of it. Yes, you can increase the Masteron up and down, and you won't have to manage anything. Like if you have like a status quo where your numbers are in range, yeah, estrogen and everything, and you can just put Masteron on top as much as you want, go back and forth, and you won't have to change any other of the metrics. So that's why he likes it, because you can just play around with it without ruining his baseline or having to adjust or having to measure again. So I see it for that. But if you want to like have a big impact physically, I don't see it helping much. I see it for SHBG lowering standpoint and for a aesthetic standpoint, like maybe before a show, but I'm not a big fan of it, of the properties itself.
Okay, but Primo, you like Primo a lot.
Yeah, so Primo is really good for people that say that, they have higher conversion into estrogen when they take tests, and then maybe they find a good range to Primo for themselves, so they won't need an AI. So it can help you to have, like, enable you to take more testosterone while not having to put in an aromatase inhibitor, and have a good compound like Primo in there, which is very mild side effect wise and has a bigger anabolic benefit than the Masteron. But then people, what they don't like about Primo is usually it's 100 milligrams. A lot of people
a lot of shots.
have pain, from the injections, but that's very individual. So yeah, and everything's very individual. That's also why I wrote the book. But that's why
Yeah, it
you should
is.
find out for yourself when you look at your blood work. And I also have a chapter on blood work, what you have to look at and how to improve it, um, to figure out what's good for you. For me, it is pretty much insanely amazing. Because if I would run 600 testosterone, let's say, I wouldn't need an aromatase inhibitor badly. Otherwise, I get mad gyno.
Okay.
But if I would put Primo on it, like 600 Primo on top, I
You
don't
go
need it.
1-to-1, like a 1-to-1 ratio gets you a little
It's
over a
crazy.
gram. So
Yeah.
do you like a
So
1-to-1 ratio
yeah.
of testosterone to another compound,
Uh,
like a Primo?
like I said, ratios are so individual. It's like someone gets a good suppression of his estrogen from Primo. Someone else doesn't even need a suppression. So if they put Primo on top, they run a zero estrogen, and that's
which isn't
backwards
good. Yeah,
actually.
that's bad. That's you
Exactly.
want estrogen. You want some
So
estrogen, guys.
yeah.
Yeah.
So if you're a very like low aromatizer, let's call it that, and you're on 600 tests and your estrogen is 20, and then you put Primo on top and you put it to zero, you get very nice joint pain,
Oh
and you
God.
get lower your IGF-1 too, because IGF-1 is correlated to your estrogen. So if you want to grow, people would say, well, let's not suppress the estrogen too much. So maybe higher end, the highest that you can have without getting gyno or high blood pressure, that would technically be optimal for the off season. So yeah, you have to find out. Some people can run higher estrogen, like 100 or 90. They won't get gyno. Other people are very prone to gyno, and when their estrogen is that high, that will yeah, elevate also all other estrogen hormones or estrogen related hormones, like prolactin and all that. So they would get gyno. So very individual. But if you stay in the normal range, you can be very sure that you won't get gyno anyways. So
Huh.
yeah.
That's fantastic. I noticed we're talking about, I know we focused on two drugs, but you talk about the off
Yeah.
season. And it
Yeah.
used to be the off season was test and deca or test and equipoise interchanged. Do you see people moving away from test and deca to test and other compounds? Or are you still seeing the whole like, oh, I mean, that was the old school thing. Test deca GH. First 4 weeks, you kickstarted it with some D-bol or anadrol. What are you seeing in bulking cycles that has changed, modified, whatever?
I see people getting moving away from highly aromatizing compounds. I also
Really?
see people moving away more from deca,
I
especially
can't
from
take deca.
especially from nandrolone decanoate. People moving away from it.
Yeah.
NPP, not so much. It's a shorter ester. You can put it in. If you have downsides, you just stop, and a few days later you're good. So with a deca, you're on it for a while. You can't be like, well,
Well,
it's a long
there's the deca dick. You
yeah.
can't forget about that. And I've known people, I know a guy who takes over a gram of deca in the off season. No issues. If I take a TRT dose of 50 milligrams a week, all of my superpowers go away. If you know what I'm saying. Like deca is not
It's
allowed in my
yeah.
house. Can't
It's
take it.
very
It just,
interesting though that that's also very individual. You might
yes.
put a DHT on top and find out that that might even do the job, or which is, I mean, I've done it before, so and I didn't have an issue with deca dick. If you don't take testosterone and you only take deca and nothing else or a DHT, people seem not to have deca dicks. There's this guy Tayan
Really?
Clark, and he's a huge believer in the deca base.
Oh
Maybe
God.
because he's an old school era fan, a golden era fan, but he's putting basically everyone on a deca base without testosterone, and he says all his people, they don't have deca dick. Uh I don't know. I think it's also, if like I said, it's very individual, but it could also be that even though you don't have technically like a total limp dick, like a deca dick, but it might be different. You have like not as strong of erections, like you can still perform, but
Yeah.
It's not like eh,
It's for
you
not
know.
to get TMI for me. It was like I was still able to get aroused, but I was it would go away like in the middle. It was the weird.
It's yeah.
It was humiliating. I will never go through. I would rather lose every ounce of muscle than have that happen again in my life. I'm like, no, not doing it because I literally. So I don't. I didn't even like. I knew Deca Dick was a thing, but I never thought. So my doctor I'm getting my doctor's like, you know what? Your joints are hurting a little bit. Let's throw in some Deca. Literally, I think it was 2-to-1. It was 200. It was 150 tests, 75 Deca. And I'm like, all right, just low dose. And
Mhm.
bro, it was so, because I didn't even realize it was that. And I thought my penis was broken. And I'm like, oh my God, what's going on? So, and again, like I'm a man who takes pride in very little in life, but the ability to do that is something I've always been very, very happy with. And when it went away, I'm like, what the hell? I'm dying. You know, I'm
It's kind
obviously
of weird,
dying.
yeah.
I'm obviously it was the weirdest experience. And then of course it's a slow ester. So you got to wait about 16 days to fully regain it. And then right after that, boom, it went out of my system. Everything was normal. So I'm very skittish on ever taking Deca, even though it's a prescribable steroid. It's something I
Yeah.
could take with a doctor's prescription. For me, I am gun shy. I'm so scared of that stuff. And I've heard people taking their doses super high and they go actually the opposite. They go to 2-to-1 Deca to test ratio and they do just fine. And I hear you that it's very individual, but I'm also seeing a lot of these guys in the off season, the cycles don't look the same. They don't look the same at all. It's very, you're right. I see Masterone a lot, which I've never seen before.
Yeah.
I see obviously testosterone. I don't see as much trenbolone. I think bodybuilders don't go on trenbolone unless they have to, and that's pre-contest. That is the last few weeks. I don't think people like the Trend twins. Like everybody's like trend. You're on trend. I'm like, you don't understand. Even the best bodybuilders avoid that shit at all costs during the off season because it's a very harsh drug. I don't think we can understate how harsh trend can be.
Yeah. And it's interesting that the biggest guys, I feel, use the least amount because the
Yes.
people that nowadays use trend are all the skinny guys that can't lift and that looking for a shortcut, or the Instagram models that are always shredded. But the really big open bodybuilders, they're way more clever about it. They educate themselves more. I feel they really want to optimize, and they're not that stupid anymore that they would use trend in the off season. And if they would, maybe like a very short burst. Um, and yeah, that's gotten way better. I think the holy grail is still like an androlone, primobolan, testosterone thing in the off season.
Yeah.
Also, they use way less orals. Like back in the day, it's kind of like the holy grail of combinations in the off season is you need an androlone, you need a DHT, you need a testosterone, and you need an oral. Like a cycle without an oral doesn't count. It's like, why do you
Yeah.
need an oral? Why don't you take more of the other stuff if you want to be more anabolic? But like they just had this
Yeah.
conception that there's a super synergy with the oral, making everything like no.
No, orals used to be a thing, and I've noticed what it does for a lot of people. It decreases their appetite, and I think there's more of a focus on eating now. I think nutrition has come a long way, and people realize that you have to eat enough food. And I think if you look at Jay Cutler and the greats and Ronnie, they were able to really put down the food, and with their genetics. With their genetics and their muscle mass, they just didn't put on much fat. So they were putting on this tremendous muscle to fat, ratio, and they were just getting bigger and bigger. So I think the new age is less about drugs, believe it or not. And people always say, "Oh, the doses have gotten crazy. The doses have gotten crazy." And it's like, I don't know if they've gotten crazier. I think they were crazy back in the day. I just think we're taking different things, and I think there's new compounds. Maybe it's the peptides. I think GH use is probably higher. I think people are taking higher doses of GH, from what I can tell.
Yeah,
like 18
I would
IU
agree.
seems to be the benchmark of what people are taking. It just seems like that's what I see. Because that's what the data supports. That's what they give AIDS patients. They give them
Yeah,
18
well,
IU.
I think the most pros would be like the open guys would be somewhere between 8 to 10 to 12.
Yeah.
I think and then there's this new faction of guys that like to chase irons, and the
Yeah.
sad thing is I love the guy, but the sad thing is it's normalizing these crazy dosages, because when I read comments
Right.
from his followers, and they're like everyday Joes on like 1.5 grams of EQ a week and a gram of test, and you're like, dude, and that's crazy. But they all like, well, he takes double. So, and that's the biggest issue when they take someone who takes insane amounts and then they take half and they think, oh, that's fine because I take half, and it's just half is still insane.
It's still bonkers. I think
Yeah.
people don't understand, like bodybuilders at the pro level, like what you got is, and I think Chase would agree with us, he doesn't have elite bodybuilder genetics. So you can't outdose genetics. You just can't do it. And there comes a point of diminishing returns. And I think these guys, they could probably get the same results on a gram and have way less side effects, way less issues. And Chase just had to get with a doctor because his visceral adipose tissue was out of control, his VAT, because he's throwing all this stuff in his body. And, I'm afraid that he's going to be a statistic. I don't want it to happen. I love the guy, but like he's trying to do this. I know he's doing something with Derek at More Plates, More Dates, where they're trying to get his testosterone level up to 20,000.
Yeah, he did it.
Did he do it? Oh my God.
Yeah.
That can't be good. That can't be good.
I can see him not being a statistic, but because he's testing himself so vigorously, but I can see that he'll be like, oh shit, like I have to take less now. Oh, it's not looking good. Because like I feel he's still afraid if his numbers look too bad that he will adjust.
Does blood work really tell us enough, though? Do we really know? Because blood work's a snapshot in time.
Well, it tells him, but it will tell him enough and early enough if he's doing too much of something. And he's also doing ultrasounds and scans himself, like MRIs, and like he does that almost every month. So he's like way beyond what anyone else does.
It's kind of crazy.
Nuts. But he also goes nuts on his testing. Like he scans his organs and all that stuff. He's not only doing blood work. So he's really looking after everything, his heart's everything. So when he's like, oh shit, my heart just increased by 50% in size, like he will definitely be like, okay, I'll get off off the growth, and I don't know, whatever else he would want to do. Like maybe, do more cardio, do more rest.
He did make that adjustment. He got with that. I forgot the guy's name, this doctor whose whole thing is decreasing visceral adipose tissue. And I forgot the doctor's name. So he's basically sprinting and eating the carnivore diet for like till his visceral adipose tissue goes down. So I do like the way he's checking and balancing, but I don't know. It might be for the better. Maybe if you did what he did at an extreme, but you did all that testing and everything as on lesser cycles, like normal pro bodybuilder cycles. I hate to say that like it's small, but compared to what he does, people look at pro bodybuilders, they automatically assume they're taking they're taking normal cycles you see at your local LA Fitness. I mean, a lot of times they're not doing anything different. They're just better. They're just better athletes. They're just better bodybuilders.
They're better than everything. Consistency, obviously genetics, but training too. Like so many people don't even know how to train. They've been doing it for so long to figure everything out. Like bodybuilding is not just drugs and a little bit of lifting. It's really lifting insanely great, and doing that for a long amount of time, and day in and day out, sleeping, everything. And people don't even know how to lift it. And they don't have no patience, and they go up in their dosages too fast, and they're starting out with trend nowadays. They built no foundation. I mean, if you don't want to figure out all that it takes, then you won't look like someone that has.
No, it's crazy to see, but these guys are starting at, it used to be back in the day, like your first cycle. I don't know if this is but 500 grams a test. 500 milligrams a test. That was it. That was a beginner cycle. 500.
Yeah, I started lower than that when I started. I started at 25 and I did 350.
Yeah. I mean, that was the normal cycle. Now it's like they start with 2 grams. You're just like, bro, like your body will respond. You do a good 8 to 16 weeks on 500 or even 350 and you start from natty, you're going to get crazy results. Crazy. But yeah, they go straight for that. But so the topic, I wanted to kind of talk about was Anavar, because I still get a lot of questions about Anavar. Now, Anavar, its beginnings are pretty humble. It's a very mild oral steroid. I know it used to be prescribed. It's not allowed to be prescribed anymore, to my knowledge. And it helps to free up something called SHBG. So it helps your body to have more free testosterone. We talked about that before, where it takes the testosterone.
It lowers
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 H.
SHBG.
Yes,
Yeah.
my misspeak. So it lowers SHBG, so that allows your body to free up more of its bound testosterone. So when you're taking a testosterone product, it allows you to have more free test, because we're looking at free testosterone. A lot of people just think total testosterone, but the secret sauce is the free testosterone. That is the
Yeah.
secret sauce. So what is your opinion on Anavar and how you would apply it, if you would at all, ever?
I would net, like, all these people that ask me, and it's a ton all the time. It's really weird. I get
It is.
all these TRT guys, and like, what do you think about Anavar? I want to try Anavar. It's really hyped right now, and it makes no sense for me that these guys want to take Anavar. Um, I don't see much use for Anavar for those guys at all, because if you just want to be a little more anabolic, you could take more testosterone.
Yes.
If you have like high conversion to estrogen, you could take primobolan, that will also lower your SHBG. You could take Mastron, that will also lower your SHBG. You could take more test and take a little Proviron, that would also lower your SHBG. And this is all zero strain on liver and zero strain on your kidney. I mean, Anavar is, I don't know if it's does any damage really to your kidney, but it's metabolized through your kidneys too.
It
People don't
is.
know that oftentimes, and once through the liver as well. So your Anavar is not something you could run all the time, or like maybe you can somehow if you're pounding Tutgon glutathione, but it's really not smart. But you could take a 100 milligrams of Mastron on top, like for your whole life. If you're on 200 test, you're probably not going to die earlier. If you're 200 test and 100-gram Mastron, you could probably turn 90 if you're a healthy person. So, but you can't run an Anavar all the time. So
You're right.
yes, you can take it, but it's more like, okay, but for how long? And then you're going to get off, and you'll be like, like it's like, sure you can, and it's not going to hurt you that much if you do it for 8 weeks, and you take some NAC or TUDCA or glutathione, or maybe even nothing if it's just a short amount and not that much. But there's better alternatives for most of the people. Where I could see a use case is, yes, in prep, for example. Um, and I could see it if you're a power lifter or you train weak points, then you would take it maybe the night before or the day off, depending on when you train, before your workout, to get a little more strength. Um, like using an oral for that, that is a little on the milder side, instead of like straight up using halotestin or methyltren to get your
Yeah.
strength up. Like that's rather the milder version of the pre-workout drug approach. I can see it there, and in prep. And then there's the myth that it would increase your thyroid and metabolism. But that was a study
Yeah.
that concluded that with 70-year-old men, they could probably have taken any steroid and it would have improved their thyroid a little bit and their
You're right.
metabolism. Their insulin sensitivity would have also increased by just taking testosterone. So this is like, I don't like, if you want to increase your metabolism, think of other things. Test your thyroid hormones. Look at if you get enough iodine and kelpin, and or how you can improve that. Test those numbers, or see if your actual nutrition provides enough. Um, and also don't go on a ketogenic diet
No,
for
don't
too
do that.
long, because
Don't do
yeah,
that.
because no carbs will actually lower your metabolism a little bit, your thyroid. So yeah, that's what I would say on Anavar. There's
What about
probably more to
applications?
say. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, what about applications for females? I know it's a hugely popular drug for females.
I mean,
What are your thoughts on Anavar for females?
like, my thoughts on any steroid for females is don't do it, because anything can viralize and get your like, you see all these bikini girls nowadays, and they only take Anavar, which I think most of them, and they all get some
They get the
like my
voice.
wife my wife competes in bikini, right? She doesn't take any Anavar, but I go to a show and she's a pro, and like in the check-ins, every other girl has male features, It's either the voice or the face.
The
And
voice is what
Anavar
I see
can
happening most locally, at least.
Anavar can
Like,
do that. Anavar definitely can do that. But
absolutely.
if anything, like rather Anavar. Like if a girl would be like, I'm going to take something now. I'm going to take a steroid. Just tell me which one. Then I would say, okay. If you if you need to do it for some other reason, I can't like tell you any other way than use Anavar. Like maybe just only and get like 2.5 milligrams and see what's going to happen first. And if you think you have a cough, it might not be a cough. Get off.
You might be going
No,
through
but
puberty.
yeah, no,
Male
but because some
puberty.
people are like, oh, I'm on prep. I have a little cold. Oh no, that's your voice changing. Maybe it's a cold. Maybe it's your voice changing.
Is that what
So
happens? They get a little cough and all of a sudden they're a
yeah,
dude? Oh,
yeah,
God.
yeah, yeah. So sometimes it's very slowly, but it could happen that, and that can be actually not a cold, but your voice changing. So yeah,
Yeah, I've seen a lot of coaches use Primo for females too. Very low dose. I've seen Primobolan used for females. That's been since the late 90s. I've seen Primo being used for females.
yeah, it's kind of
But
the same idea. Yeah,
yeah, but then again, I see coaches giving girls trend now. So it was
yeah,
funny. We were we were sitting there. I can say this, it's not anything, but my daughter came with me when I did the New York Pro, and we're just sitting chilling before the show with Jose Raymond, his girl.
yeah.
We're just sitting there talking, and they were just talking about these bikini girls on trend, just joking about it, but serious, right? My daughter's standing there like, she's 17. She's like, it's a thing. There are some coaches who are very irresponsible with the female competitors. You're going to see a lot of females. The main thing I see females doing is just destroying their thyroid. Now, I've never met a male bodybuilder who's taken, and you might have, who's taken T3 and had thyroid just completely shit out and never work again. I've met dozens of females who have to take thyroid medication for the rest of their life because they abuse thyroid pre-contest. But I've never seen that in men. It just seems that women have this propensity to have thyroid issues after
I
taking
think,
exogenous.
yeah, but I think it might also be because women get more. I mean, some binge, but some get
Yeah.
so afraid of eating, and they then like are so afraid of carbs that they basically go on a zero carb diet. They're always in a deficit. They might even have ruined their thyroid without the T3.
Wow.
So, like, you
That's
know what
true.
I mean? So,
Just
so
competing. I've also known
it's just like, is it?
natural
Yeah.
natural female competitors who've had issues getting pregnant later in life, who've had
Yeah.
thyroid issues. You're absolutely correct. I think that the
Yeah.
harsh dieting, I think it affects females more than males. Although it does affect males, I just think the male endocrine system is better at bouncing back. It just
Maybe
seems
it might
that
be,
when
yeah.
females compete, it just seems that the deleterious long-term side effects are more likely than in men. And I've seen that's just, I don't have, look, cite the source. I don't have a fucking source. The source is being alive in this industry since the early 2000s. I've seen a lot of shit. So I look at it like, if you're a female competing, you just have to be really careful. And you're right. These women who compete, there's two types of female competitors. There's the one who a week after the show looks like she's, over just an obese woman. And the other one is one that just doesn't come off the diet. They'll get done with the show. They're still doing 3 hours of cardio a day. They're still, and
Yeah.
you see them in the gym. So it's just, there's I've met very few females who don't fall along the lines of obesity post contest and just contest prep year round. There's very few and far between. The ones who are good at it are usually pros, but the amateurs, good golly. I mean, you just see all types. It's like, oh, I did the show. Next thing you know, they're 50 pounds heavier on a frame that 50 pounds is a third of their body weight. And then, it's absolutely nuts. But I do think we need to talk about, females competing, not necessarily here, but just the risks, right, of competing, not just in enhanced shows, but also competing naturally. I just think there's a lot more that can go wrong. And even at a young age, you're looking at, men are like, you can kickstart shit, right? Like you can bring back A lot of times, like, production of sperm and all that with HCG and different things. With females, your eggs are all there. Like, they're all there. Like, they're there at the beginning. And you don't make more. You don't make more of them.
With women, it's a problem that even if they compete naturally, the required amount of body fat is, for most women, very hard to achieve in a healthy way. And
Yep.
if anything, if they want to get there and they're not naturally like super lean, like some are just gifted, and for them it might be not a problem because they run around 12% and then they diet and then they're 8 and then it's great. But for most of the women, the normal bodybuilding approach will be their downfall because to get there in a way that they don't destroy themselves when they're natural, that's not a 4 months diet. They need a year or something.
Yes.
So they would have to get there so slow that they don't have to undereat. They don't have to overstress by doing 3 hours of cardio. They don't have to be too radical. They would have to, smooth in. But, most of the times they're like, okay, a season and then off season, and then we're putting on all the fat back again. And then we have 4 months to cut it all off and we destroy ourselves again.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's the big problem, is that the requirements are too unhealthy to reach if you want to do it in a short amount of time, and you can't do this regular on and off season bulk and fast cut, or you just take more time in between preparations and you take 1 year off and 1 year prep, something like that.
That's
otherwise,
actually,
you
brilliant.
gifted.
Yeah, that's brilliant. It's always tough with females. I got to say, and you just look at the long-term effects, and you're right. It just seems like the normal bulking cutting just doesn't work for females. They don't put on muscle as fast. They need to and also women have a different level of body fat for survival, right? Like, men, you look at, men can be 7%, 8%. Women, I mean, if they're 15%, that's fucking crazy lean. Like, you're about women, like, she's below 10%. I'm like, oh my God, that's terrible.
Yeah.
Like, women need more fat. They just need more fat.
Yeah, like,
they just,
I would say on probably the bikini girls at the Olympia might be about 9%, maybe nowadays even eight or something. They're pretty lean. What also can work for women, if you're just a bikini competitor, that like you acquire the muscle mass you really need, and then you diet down for a long time, and then you can compete more often because you don't need the off season anymore. So you just go a little up and down, and then you can keep competing too, but you can't you have to get a new set point, and the set point has to be established in a long preparation, and then afterwards, because you have that lower set point, you can do lower bouts and then compete way more often without the detriment, and you're just in between 5 or 8 pounds. You stay in there.
Yeah. So just, this is people always want a summary. So, and then we have a couple super chats I'd like to get to if you have a couple minutes.
Sure.
And again, your book, by the way, I have it linked down below in the description on YouTube. And I believe on Rumble, but if it's not there, you can always DM me on Instagram. I'll get it over to you. I don't want commission from this, but we made a coupon code so you save 10% to incentivize you to buy his book. It's coupon code MARC10, MARC10. I promise you, all the money goes to Leo. He needs it. He's living in California. His taxes are way. I'm in Tennessee. I don't have state tax, so this is to pay for his state tax out there. just give me a heads up. So it's linked down below, but the book is fantastic. I actually read through it this morning. I can't wait to read the whole thing. It is fantastic. And I'm not going to lie about it. Like, this book is as thorough of a book. It goes over things that that you wouldn't even think about going over. So if you're interested, even if you're natural, in learning more about steroids, TRT, how to do it healthy, what blood work to get done, this is your Bible. So you need to buy this book. Again, it's linked down below. You could always message either of us on Instagram. We'll get you over the link. Again, all the money goes to Leo. None of it goes to me. I'm good. I don't live in California. I don't have state tax. So, that's where we're at. But again, like the book, and I mean
Appreciate it. Thank you.
You fucking crushed it. Like
Thank you.
This is a book I wish I had when I started out. And in fact, even now, I'm glad I have it. So now let's say we have a couple bros watching. And let's say they're not new. So we've already gone over like new beginner cycles, like, right? Like when we were younger, it was like 350 tests, 500 tests, whatever, keep it simple. So let's say you have someone who's, I don't know, looking to bulk, wants to compete, maybe has aspirations of a pro card if they have the genetics. What would be a typical, not Olympia, but like a typical bulking and cutting cycle for the average competitor? Just not Ronnie Coleman, not even me, but just an average competitor.
Well, there's different scenarios. As I said, depending on your rate of conversion into estrogen. So some people go really well with the high testosterone approach, and then they would just put one other thing on top. And also to free up more tests, as we said, have another anabolic in there, and don't have the estrogen, the testosterone side effects creep up too much. Other people might want to have a lower testosterone because of their potential side effects, and put on, let's say, more like drugs on top, that you have a baseline and you won't just like have to adjust too much. Then usually the gold standard is like an androlone, a DHT, and testosterone for the off season. But depending on the person, like I said, the testosterone and one other compound is totally okay. So that's the steroid load, but there's like way more pathways, obviously, to gaining muscle. So you can put the HGH in, you can spike your IGF through other things. Like if people can afford it, some use Increlex or an IGF LR3 on top. Then you have like a bunch of little ancillaries. Then you might have modifications because you might have some weaknesses that you want to bring up. You want, like nowadays, people throw in all kinds of things to help with their joints, like peptides or peptides that keep the fat off a little bit. So you have like a leaner off season. There's now even peptides that can keep your appetite down, but not an Ozempic. Eric Janicki has taken. Oh man, I'm not as versed in the peptides. Some tetrodotoxin, something like that. I forgot
what is
the name,
it?
but that could be in there.
It
could be.
Yeah,
that. So
it's very effective. It's very effective.
Yeah. So for example, I'm taking a peptide right now. It's called KPV.
Never heard of
that
it.
is especially for your digestion. BPC 157 is also
I take that year round along with TB 500.
It's naturally occurring in your stomach. So in off season, which people often forget, and that's another reason why the orals might not be the best choice for you, is you can only put on the protein like in muscle that you can digest. And you like everything you can digest is what you can use. And if your body's able to convert the fuel into muscle or energy in a proper way, that's a little underestimated, the effect of that. So you want it might maybe take something for your digestion, and also maybe for your joints too. So there's good supplements. Even I bet you have some on your website for joint support, but
I do take a lot of supplements
or something.
But I have IBS. I'm also old, and I train really hard, and I coach, and I do all that stuff. So I take TB 500 and BP 157 daily. I take it every
Mhm.
single day. And I have from boxing, my thumb, I used to have to get cortisone injections every 3 months. And my
Mhm.
thumb is very little pain, if any. And my IBS, it was in remission, but my IBS has never been better. So I'm a huge fan of BPC 157 and TB 500. If you had to choose one or the other, based on my experience, I'd choose BPC
Yeah, I would
because of
choose the
the
same.
and it also heart benefits. It's been shown in all the studies are in rodents, so I apologize for not having
I have
human
a
data.
crazy story on that.
Okay.
So Justin Compton,
I love
who
that
I
guy. He's the
yeah, who I have a
nicest guy ever.
podcast with, and oftentimes we do the coma talk, but I also had him on my podcast in person. But his doctor told him that he had some slight heart damage. Um, so he could see it when it was screened. And then Justin started taking BPC 157. And a few months later, when they looked at it again, his doctor said, if I wouldn't have known, I wouldn't have seen it. Like
Wow.
it reversed. So and that's insane, dude.
Do you know
Like
what his
because
dosing was?
no, I got to
I
ask
I
him, but
I
I
take
would
200
guess.
micrograms a day.
I guess it would have been higher, probably 500 to 1,000.
Yeah, I started
Yeah,
with that. I was at
yeah,
400. I was doing it injecting twice a day, and
yeah,
it's been a game changer for me. Everybody I know, like if my brother had knee surgery, I'm like, get on this right now. Athletes, ACL
yeah,
tears, I have them on it immediately. It's just great. Um, it's such a, and I can't wait for there to be human data. But Justin Compton, that's human data. Here's a high performing bodybuilder who obviously stressed the shit out of his heart, who literally reversed something, and there's no other variable, I'm sure. So it's just like
yeah,
it's the peptides that are coming out are so exciting for longevity. And even we were talking earlier about Israel and telmisartan. And I mean, dude, you have a no side effect that we know of, blood pressure mediator that can help you not get the tremendous side effects from anabolic steroid usage. So, I mean,
yeah.
people say bodybuilders are healthier now than they've ever been if they have a good coach who tells them to look into this stuff, or a good prep doctor. Like we were talking about, I did a story yesterday about Samson, and apparently this guy Michael from Merrick did his steroid cycle for the Olympia, and his wife just helped him with diet and training. And I'm like, every coach should have some form of a hormonal expert helping them with this stuff. I think that's brilliant. Marlene, I have no doubt Marlene still coached him. I mean, like when you're prepping, like you're married, right? Like when you're prepping, your wife might as well be your coach because she's there, and
Yeah.
she has to deal with your dumb ass all the time and deal with your mood swings and whatever. And she's like, so I mean, I have no doubt that she coached him and she helped him with his diet and training. But at the end of the day, at that level, he knows how to train. He knows how to diet. His wife's giving him that third eye. And he has a guy who's just like, hey, let's get you there as healthy and as safely and as awesomely as possible. So there's so much good stuff out there now.
Yeah, and I mean, Samson Dauda has done so many preps. It's not like he
Yeah.
couldn't have come up with. I don't think the cycle he was given was the magic that just
No.
made him win. Like it was obviously, but this guy, the cycle might have been almost the same as one of the cycles he's done before, but this time might have just pushed the cardio a little more. I heard his wife telling him, like, no, Samson, you got to push. We do 2 hours of cardio now.
Yep.
We got 2 more weeks after his France show. So I think that did way more than his cycle.
Oh, yeah.
Just being like, oh, let's push more. Obviously you need the cycle, but it's not like, oh my God, maybe this time he had 400 grams of tren and last time he had 350. And it's like, woof,
Everybody thinks
if you,
there's this magic cycle that pros are on, but I know probably most competitors at a high level. I know most of what they do because when you're talking bro to bro, and I'm not going to say who or what or when, you're talking bro to bro. It's like, hey man, what are you doing for this prep? And they'll like list it off, and you're like, are you done? That's it? Like that's all? Like at the end of the day, you're looking at genetically elite people taking what every LA Fitness gym bro is taking. I mean, basically that amount, probably smarter. Like they're taking smarter dosing. They're taking smarter, like some people do stupid shit, like mixing 2 DHTs or taking weird, like redundant shit. But there's more method. They have more advisors who know what they're doing, where the average bro at LA Fitness is just like trend twinning it out and just throwing a bunch of drugs in the mix and hoping it works. Because I forgot who it was, but there's a guy who said when he was competing, what he would do is just fucking put a bunch of shit in a needle and inject it. Got huge. Like there is dose, right? But these guys, they want, when you're competing for a living, like they're doing as little as possible to get as much as possible. And these guys, like you guys, people who talk shit about bodybuilders couldn't last a fucking half a workout with these guys.
I mean, there's some people that take more than they would need.
Yes.
And then there's always people that they will tell you what they take, but then they might leave out one compound. Like they leave out, for example, they leave out the 50 milligrams of Anadrol they take pre-workout because that's not their stack. So when they just throw some orals in there, they just leave it out. But let's be real, even if they leave a little bit out, it's not going to come out Chase Iron cycle. So
no.
so just that, having that in mind, it's like even if he tells you 20% less than what he takes, it's not like if you would now take 20% more than what he's telling you, you would look the same. So that's just like you see the structure of the cycle and the compounds in there, and you're like, well, that's what they do, and maybe they take a little more than what they told you, but if you put that on top, is it going to make that big of a difference? Probably not really.
No.
So.
No, not at all. If you have time, I could use, but do you have time for super chats?
Yeah, let's go.
All right, so we're just going to read them all. I've been natural ever since I started the gym, always had good genetics. Well, God bless you. Stay natural. Yeah. I mean, stay natural. That's my advice to you. Hey, man, if you have the genetics to do it and you feel great, you look good, you're getting all the chicks, you're keeping your wife happy, like do your thing. Again, oh man, did you even want to get into this? I think this might hit too close to home. Fuad, I'm not commenting on either of these guys because I love them both. But I'm going to read the comment. Hopefully no one takes this out of context because I'm reading a comment. Fuad Abiad and Guy Cisternino, two dumbasses that excuse Mike Van Wyck saying it was only a light shove.
I don't know if they said it was a light shove. I understand if you stand by your friend, even though he makes a mistake, because we all have friends that might have punched someone at some point or did some other stupid mistake, or that, maybe even cheated on their wives and you knew about it, or their girlfriends. Their wives might be a little too far. But
yeah, just a little bit.
It's like, dude, I'm not going to cancel my friendship with you for a mistake. Bingo. But what I would still want to hear is you saying that was a mistake and you're sorry. I'm like, yes. If I ask my guy and he punches Jeff Nippert, and whatever Jeff Nippert said, dude, whatever Jeff Nippert said, it was stupid. So I'll be like, you know what? If he tells me in person I shouldn't have punched him, that was stupid on my end, and I should never do that again. But you know what? Like I'm so annoyed by these people. I'm just gonna double down because.
Yeah.
Like that because he's not really apologizing, which I don't like. But
yeah,
then I'm like, cool, bro. Like, you learned your lesson. You this was so bad for you, the outcome. Like, so I'm really sure you learned your lesson. So I'm not gonna not be friends with you anymore. I know you're basically a good guy and you made a mistake. Cool. Yeah, that's basically.
I was asked this yesterday, and I actually put a lot of thought into it because I've never had this occur, and I don't know how I didn't have an answer. So let's say Alan Roberts, he did that, right? Like Alan's obviously not 6'3", 300 something pounds, but let's say Alan attacks a midget, just fucking throw punches him. What my
Who's
statement
Alan
would
Roberts?
Be, Alan's Evening Rants. My best friend. Yeah,
that's Alan. I know Alan. I didn't know his last name.
Yeah, he's so I would be like, look, I do not condone what he did. I'm very much disappointed, but I will stand by his side and make sure he receives the anger management and help he needs to avoid this happening in the future. I'd go political on it. I think that'd be the best move for Fuad and Guy. Just like, hey, we're not gonna disown this guy. He obviously needs our help now more than ever. We do not stand by what he did. We do not condone what he did. But we're still gonna be here to support him because that's what loyal friends do. We apologize to Jeff. We wish the best for him. Hope he's healthy. Hope he's safe. And that's it. Boom. Done.
Yeah.
Instead, from what I
Perfect
heard,
statement.
I haven't seen what they've said.
Perfect statement. Perfect statement.
It's the best statement. The greatest statement. I didn't see what they said, but apparently from what I've seen in the chat is they were like, oh, it's just a light shove. Just guys, for everybody's sake, even for Mike's sake, the best thing is just to stand by him, but also let's not condone assault. Let's just go and just be political. Think what would JD Vance do? That's what I would think. Okay, next chat from Alejandro. Can you touch on ibutamorin? I don't know much about it.
Yeah, that's MK677.
Oh, okay, now I know.
Yeah. So, dude, I think the only case where it makes sense, I mean, it's very individual too, is when you are someone who's a super hard gainer who, for whatever reason, can't eat or has to eat like crazy. And because other people, it would make binge and it would get pre-diabetic. So it's very case dependent. Some people can take it before bed and not get the binge effect, but I would be very careful, and I always say rather take 2 units of GH.
Yes,
really. It's like, really, why? Because too lazy or too cheap? I don't know, man. If your body's worth that much to you, then take the real stuff. It's like a question: SARMs or steroids? And I'm like, bro, SARMs are shit. So
yeah, you talk about lacking data. Like at least steroids, like we have data. We have human data on most of these steroids. And I mean, I'm not against rodent data, right? We have them, but look at the dosing. Like the dosing used in the SARM studies were like, I think, what was why am I blanking on the name? But the most popular one is like
LGD.
No, not LGD. The original one, the one that people Ostarine. It's like the fucking study dose is like 3 milligrams, like and the bottle, the pill is 50 milligrams. So there's a huge discrepancy between the studied dose and the actual applied dose. So again,
it's the same like steroids, bro. If you would take 1 milligram of Anavar and be like, look, it's so selective, we have no side effects. Yeah, bro, but you also don't have many effects. It's great. So when you take it in an amount where you have the anabolic effects, you also have all the side effects, and then the SARMs are not selective at all. And look at the lipids; they destroy the lipids more than an Anavar would, most of them. So, yeah, I don't see any reason.
1 milligram a trend, 0 side effects, 0. Yeah, I'm not a fan. I currently take 2 IUs of HGH a day. That's for me. That's what I take. But again, it's up to you. I'm not a huge fan of all the little SARMy things. So, I'm biased against SARMs. So, and also like you can say the same about underground gear, but like there's really no quality control because you can't make it in a facility that manufactures supplements. So it's basically made by people with Kaplan quicks. It's like, I wouldn't trust in that. That goes to super chat. So now before we promote the book again, I actually wanted to give a shout out real quick. Do you ever go to Western Bagel out there in LA?
No.
So Western Bagel used to be my favorite bagels. They sent me these. These are perfect 10 bagels. Let me read the macros. 2.5 grams of fat, 19 grams of carbs, and 19 grams of protein with 7 grams of fiber. So this is the everything one. The texture is a little bit different because obviously there's a lot of protein in it. But if you're a bagel fan, it's
is it good fiber?
So the ingredient wise, some of it's coming, of course, there's gonna be some wheat gluten in there and oat fiber. So if you're not gluten intolerant, it's a good bagel. And I like bagels and I like protein.
I love
So,
bagels, man.
well, I mean, I'm
Yeah.
Jewish, you know? I mean, that's the one thing the Germans and the Jews get along with. We both like bagels. So if you go to Western Bagels website, westernbagel.com, coupon code LOWBLINDER. I have no idea how much it gets off. I just remember I had a coupon code there. So LOWBLINDER, Western Bagel, they have bagels.
That's so.
And of course,
And they're in LA.
They're in LA, dude. I used to go there all the time as a kid.
Nice.
They also, I believe they have these sandwiches. I used to get lox and bagels there once in a while because lox it's an acquired taste. It's salmon, but it's, made into lox form, smoked salmon basically. So, but if you're not near a Western Bagel, like these are good bagels if you're into bagels.
Bagels with cream cheese and salmon are the shit. I love it.
I'll DM them with you and see if they'll get you out some. Because they're actually, and they have a pumpkin one. They have a pumpkin one seasonally that's pretty good if you're into like pumpkin bagels.
I'm into everything big. I was just at Bagel Mania in Vegas.
Oh.
Dude, that's crazy good. Like if you're in Vegas, and it's not even expensive. You will just have to wait for a long time. But I knew some VIP guy who got us a seat right away.
Was he Jewish? Had to be Jewish. He's a bagel guy.
No, it wasn't Jewish.
Oh, they've misappropriated my food. I'm gonna have to cancel them. You saw we did the Kanye.
I didn't know bagels were.
Oh,
Jewish.
bagels are Jewish delis. So Einstein, I'm not a huge. They're okay, but like these Western always had the best bagels in LA. And now that they DM me on Instagram one day and they're like, "Can we send you some bagels?" I'm like, "Yeah." Did you see the Jewish Star? Let's go. And I'm like, this is fucking pretty great. So anyway, that's that. Also, one more thing, tigerfitness.com, 10% off site-wide, coupon code GAINS, GAINZZZ, towards the end of the week. Also, tomorrow we have our Halloween sale. The reason we're doing the sale early is to get the Halloween shirts, you can wear it on Halloween. And let's talk about your book, man. The book is fantastic. I'm not going to open it and flip through it. I have it open right now because then I'd show you what's in the book, and you should buy it. You guys need to buy this book. Even if you don't take steroids, it'll help you learn more about them. And it's just a fascinating read. Like I read stuff all the time about things I'm not going to do because I want to learn more and educate myself about it. And this is by far the most comprehensive, and it's written in terms I can understand. Like I remember Willem Llewellyn, he wrote a great book on steroids, but it was so far over the layman's head that even I was like, what the fuck is he even talking about? And it's a great book, but this book puts it into terms that even I can understand. And if you buy any book this year, again, and support Leo, good guy. He's doing the right thing. He's building his own podcast that you should subscribe to, the Overcome Podcast. So support good people and buy his book. Again, man, it's expensive to live in California. He doesn't want to do the gay for pay anymore. He's trying to quit that. So just buy his book. His anus is killing him. I mean,
just buy it out of empathy, basically.
Yeah, it's the appeal to pity, man.
Just give me some money because I'm so poor.
Everybody's poor in California, man. Millionaires are poor, paying 60% overall tax.
It's expensive. I can't deny that. That's true.
Oh man. Well, anyway, guys, greatly appreciate everybody being here. Be sure. Where can they find you, dude?
Austrian Powers and Overcome Podcast on Instagram. On YouTube, also Overcome Podcast, or my name Leo Mayrhofer, or put in Austrian Powers or Austrian Oak. That's basically it. I mean, all platforms you can find me on with Austrian Powers. TikTok. I'm not in TikTok that active. I don't get that website. Like
we're too old for it,
much,
man.
But
it's for the kids.
I'll basically repost Instagram on TikTok.
Yeah, same. My son has a car one for his Infinity, so he's doing pretty well. He has all the cool stuff that kids watch. His comments are out of control. Like I'm like, my daughter has a bigger Instagram than me, a bigger TikTok than me. My daughter's like crushing it. She does this eating on her campus at Indiana University, and so she tags like Indiana, and so like every college is following her. She's getting like hundreds of thousands of views on videos of what she eats in the dining hall. And I'm like doing these great fucking clips of like how to do fucking lifts and shit. Nobody cares. But yet my daughter will be like, I ate chicken from the dining hall, and she gets like 100,000 views. I'm like, God damn it. I'm out. I lost.
Yeah, well then go eat chicken with her and put it on your TikTok.
Yeah. Anyway, brother, thank you so much for being here. Hopefully everybody follows him. Buy the book. Just buy the damn book, and just help society. This will fix.
Thanks for having me, man. Thanks for
buying
having me.
his book will fix America. It will fix the country. He'll make America anabolic again. All right, brother. Have a great one. Thanks everyone for watching. See you tomorrow.
Thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for having me on.
All right, dude.
Bye-bye.